No, you didn't read the title wrong. Lessons learned from only cooking half of the amount of food that I needed. My lessons learned are a lesson for you guys. So whenever I have a major problem, a major snafu, I try to take a moment while it's still fresh in my mind and we'll talk about it so that I can prevent something like this happening to one of you guys. If I help one of you guys out, I've done my job. This lesson, me freaking out has been well worth it. Hey, yo, this is Dash. Get ready. Hey, yo, this is Dash, and today I'm going to tell you guys how I averted a crisis for having this huge event. So a little bit of backstory, and then I'll tell you exactly what happened and how it happened. So over the past weekend, I had one of the busier weekends I've had in a very long time, probably since like Thanksgiving, as far as just volume of orders and things that I had to cook. So over this weekend, I ended up having, these are just totals. So I had orders totaling 37 pounds of brisket, 52 pounds of pork, 20, 35, 40, 48 pounds of chicken, 2 salmon fillets, 50 wings, and a boneless leg of lamb, plus a partridge in a pear tree. Naturally. The way those orders broke down was I had 4 events on Saturday, 1 pickup, 3 drop-offs. I had 2 events on Sunday, 1 pickup, 1 drop-off. I was about to, anyway, 1 pickup, 1 drop-off. So the first event on Saturday was pickup. She was picking up between noon and 1. Okay, fine. Her order was 4 pounds of brisket, 50 wings, leg of lamb. Great. The second order was for 20 pounds of brisket, 20 pounds of pork, 20 pounds of chicken to be dropped off at 2:30 p.m. plus or minus. Also with that order, there was macaroni salad, potato salad, some King's Hawaiian rolls, and some barbecue sauce. The next order on Saturday was a 5 p.m. drop-off. That 5 p.m. drop-off was 8 pounds of pork, 8 pounds of chicken, 8 pounds of brisket, 2 salmon fillets. The next drop-off and the last drop-off for Saturday was for 6 p.m. and that drop-off was 5 pounds of pork and 5 pounds of chicken. Now on Sunday, the first thing was a 11:30 pickup for 4 pounds of brisket. Now the last thing on Sunday was a little odd. The order went through the way that it did. The young lady who placed the order, she wanted 15 pounds of pork, 20 pounds of pork, 15 pounds of chicken, and then she also wanted 120 hamburgers and 80 hot dogs. Now, when we originally spoke, the young lady and I on Sunday, she told me that she wanted to cook on site. By the time it was all said and done, I ended up just cooking all of that stuff here. So here's a little quick video of me cooking all of those things here in my backyard. Alright, so those things being said, I figured that when I got all of these totals together, I write down, usually what I end up doing is something similar to how that looks there. Where you see 20, 8, 4, 5, and then I total it up, and then 20, 8, 520, and I total it up, and that total was wrong because I forgot the 5 in there, so that's why it's off by 5. So that should be 52 and not 48. Then I total up the chicken, all of those things like that. Well, the problem was when I went through and looked at my invoices, the way I have my invoices set up is anything under 5 pounds is one price. Anything between 5 pounds and 10 pounds is another price, and anything 10 pounds over is another price. Volume discount type thing. I wrote down the fact that I was looking at the 10 pound plus bracket and not the quantity of 20 pounds. Yeah. So I had exactly half allocated for what I needed for the beef, the chicken, and the pork for one of my biggest orders that I had. You guys see the numbers. The numbers are right there, right? So what ended up happening was I wrote down everything, and when I went to do my shopping, I only bought, I bought about just over 60 pounds of brisket. I bought about 80 pounds of pork shoulder, and I bought a case, 2 cases of chicken, a case of boneless skinless thighs and a case of boneless skinless breasts. What I ended up doing, the chicken I needed 20, 35, 40, 48 pounds of chicken. So I ended up cooking almost 60 pounds of chicken. Well, actually I cooked 50 pounds of chicken. Yeah, I cooked 50 pounds of chicken because I thought that my amount was 10 pounds less. So I cooked 50 pounds of chicken because I thought I only needed less than 40 pounds of chicken. The pork, I cooked about 80 pounds of chicken because I thought that I only needed 42 pounds of chicken, pounds of pork. And then for my brisket, I cooked 60 pounds of, just over 60 pounds, because they were like 15 and some change a pound briskets. So it was a little over 60 pounds, but it was like 61, maybe 62 pounds of brisket. With that being said, I thought I needed 27 pounds of brisket. That's why I just opted for 60, and the briskets that I got were close enough to 15 pounds, where it just took me just over 60. So, those things being said, I cooked all of the brisket and the pork on Friday into Saturday. I cooked all of the chicken Saturday. I got up early on Saturday. I basically took a nap, got up early on Saturday, started cooking the chicken. 6:45 in the morning, I'm processing the brisket and the pork shoulder, and I'm thinking, like, wait a minute, like, that 20 pound, well, the order for the open house, the spring/summer open house for my car friend, like, that, his total seems really high for what his order was. So I went and I double checked the invoice, and I'm glad I double checked the invoice, because that is where I made the mistake, and I wrote down 10 pounds on my shopping list of brisket for his total as opposed to 20. Now the saving grace for me was that I pride myself on cooking things ahead of time, cooking things early, so I have everything that I need. And again, I'm telling you guys this in hopes that my lesson learned will be a lesson to one of you, and you will double check your orders, triple check your orders. I usually do, but the whole thing is I've been cooking so much for him. This is probably the 6th or 7th event that I've done for him in the past. Usually he does 2 orders a year, and he's been consistently stepping his orders up. He was doing like 5, 5, and 5, then he was doing like 10, 10, and 10. The last time around Christmas, he ended up doing like 15, 15, and 15. So this time he said, hey, you know what, let's bump everything up to 20. The problem was, it was higher than what he normally ordered. Therefore, it wasn't fresh in my mind that he ordered 20 pounds. So when I went to write the form up, the 10 pound order seemed more like what he normally ordered. Unfortunately, it wasn't. The good thing though is I cooked everything in advance for the entire weekend as far as brisket and pork on Friday. So at 6:45, when I realized that this was happening, I went into full-on panic mode. It was 6:45 a.m. and I was gonna have to figure out how I was gonna have to have an additional 10 pounds of brisket. How I was going to have an additional 10 pounds of brisket. Luckily, I had enough pork to cover. I had enough chicken to cover. but I did not have enough brisket. At least I didn't think I did. Luckily, I bought extra brisket. I had more brisket than I needed. Luckily, also, the 5-pound order for Sunday morning was enough with the overage that I ended up having basically 8.5, almost 9 pounds. It was like 8 3/4 pounds of brisket extra, because I took that 5 pounds. I usually try to have some brisket for my family and I, but I took that brisket and I lumped it all together with everything else that I already had, and it worked out to me being able to provide almost 19 pounds of brisket as opposed to 20. I threw in some extra pork shoulder and some extra chicken to make up for the imbalance, okay, or the difference. But I mean, I tell you, I went as far as to run into Sam's right away. I live less than 10 minutes away from Sam's. By the time I figured out the error of my ways, I set the smoker up so that I was able to like go and make this run. I was in Sam's by 7:15. I had a brisket in my hand, and the whole thing is the saving grace was the fact that I had brisket prepared for Sunday available for Saturday, and I just kind of slid the order for Sunday into that order I needed for Saturday. When I say I had the brisket in my hand, and I said, no, I don't need this. I have brisket at home. I usually, again, also, I will try and buy extra briskets from time to time if I'm a few pounds away from hitting a volume discount. So I typically almost always have pork shoulder and brisket in the house in the freezer in case I get a last minute order, or in case I get an order and I can't go out to get something just because of a time crunch or something along those lines. So I had pork shoulder and I had brisket here, so I had to replace the brisket, I had to replace the pork, and I had to replace the chicken that I was going to be using. Now, after everything was said and done on Saturday, the only thing that I was missing and the only thing I was short on was brisket. I used all the brisket that I had cooked, and I was short about 1 pound. Okay, I can deal with that. As far as the chicken, I had half of the chicken that I needed, and as far as the pork, I had half of the pork that I needed. I needed 20 pounds, I had about 12. And for the chicken, I needed 15 pounds, and I had about 7. So I ended up getting I have chicken in the house usually, almost always. So I had chicken, I had pork, and I had brisket in the house. So I was able to take those out that afternoon, early afternoon, thaw those things out, and I had to cook again on Sunday. So the good thing was, in a nutshell, I cooked everything, or I cooked a lot of the things that I needed. My whole point, or my whole intent, was to cook Friday into Saturday, do all of the prep work for everything on Saturday, wrap everything up, have everything ready, so that all I would need to do is warm things up and take things to the deliveries, and we'll have things ready for pickups for Saturday and for Sunday. I say all of that to say, sometimes you really need to do your preparation and get things done ahead of time, and not for an hour or two before your events, only because you never know what's going to happen. And I really hope that this lessons learned from me can be a lesson for one of you guys. If this lesson is anything for just one of you guys, and it helps you to just double check your orders, yeah, just thinking about it again, I have that feeling in my stomach, in my chest, of that. I don't even know how to explain it, as far as like I don't even know what to call it. I literally did not know what to do. And after I panicked, I kind of got myself together, and by the time I was out the door and at Sam's, I was able to get myself together by the time I was at Sam's to realize that, wait a minute, all of the food that I have, and the good thing about what I'd done is I'd cooked everything in advance. Because I cooked everything in advance, I had almost enough for everything that I needed already prepared. The only bad thing was I was going to have to cook additional brisket, additional pork, and additional chicken on Sunday morning. So as opposed to me being able to cook just twice, I ended up having to cook Friday, Saturday, as well as Sunday. So I say all of that to say is in a nutshell. So look, thank you guys so very much again, as always, for watching. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. If you like what you saw today, if you learned something, please leave me a comment and thumbs up down below. Turn the notification bell on if you haven't already to make sure you'll be notified whenever one of these videos goes live. And always, I'll see you guys next time.